The entertainment world thrives on glamour, illusions, and carefully constructed images, but beneath its shimmering surface lies a darkness so profound that even the brightest stars can be consumed by it. The shocking death of Menglong shook fans across the globe, and now as Xiao Zhan, his friend and colleague, uncovers the hidden truths, his tears are not only for the man he lost but also for the realization that the industry they both loved may have played a role in silencing him forever. When Xiao Zhan first learned about Menglong's tragic end, he was devastated like everyone else. The news headlines were swift and merciless. Beloved actor Menglong found dead under mysterious circumstances. For days, rumors circulated. Some claimed it was an accident, others whispered of personal struggles, while a few brave voices dared to suggest something darker. But the official statements from the industry were carefully scripted, painting Menglong's death as nothing more than an unfortunate incident. No questions, no investigations, just silence. For Xiao Zhan, that silence was unbearable. Menglong was more than a colleague. He was a gentle soul, a man who carried warmth in his eyes and a quiet strength in his presence. The two had shared conversations about their dreams, their fears, and their struggles with the harsh realities of fame. So when Xiao Zhan began hearing whispers that Menglong's death was not as simple as reported, he couldn't look away. He began digging, piecing together fragments of conversations, revisiting old messages, and confronting people who had once stood close to Menglong. What he discovered left him in tears. Behind every industry event, every glitzy award show, and every perfectly staged photo shoot, there existed secrets Menglong had stumbled upon. He had witnessed moments that weren't meant for outsiders' eyes, powerful figures making deals in the shadows, silencing voices that dared to question them, and manipulating narratives that the public consumed without doubt. Sources close to Menglong revealed that he was troubled in the weeks before his death. He confided in a few trusted friends, saying he had seen something he should never have seen, something that could ruin careers and dismantle carefully constructed empires. His kind nature and strong sense of justice conflicted with the industry's unwritten rule: see nothing, say nothing. Yet Menglong couldn't simply bury the truth in silence. When Xiao Zhan uncovered this, he broke down. Reports from those near him describe him sitting alone, clutching an old photo of himself and Menglong, tears streaming down his face as he whispered, "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you carry this alone?" For Xiao Zhan, the revelation was more than a personal tragedy. It was a betrayal by the very industry he had dedicated his life to. He began to understand why the narrative around Menglong's death was carefully controlled, why questions were dismissed, and why those who tried to speak out quickly went silent. The truth Menglong carried was too dangerous, too threatening to those in power. And so the easiest solution was to erase him. The entertainment world has long been criticized for its tendency to sweep uncomfortable truths under the rug. Scandals are silenced, controversies are paid off, and the people behind them remain untouchable. For many, Menglong's death is a heartbreaking example of this system at work. If Menglong truly carried secrets that could expose corruption at the highest levels, then the silence that followed his death begins to make sense. Xiao Zhan's tears are not only for his lost friend but for the suffocating realization that they are all trapped in a system where truth is a dangerous weapon, and speaking it aloud can cost you your life. In private, Xiao Zhan has been described as inconsolable. His grief isn't the loud, public kind. It's the quiet devastation of a man who feels powerless against forces far greater than himself. He has been spotted visiting Menglong's resting place, his head bowed, tears sliding down his cheeks. Those who know him say he whispers apologies, as if blaming himself for not protecting his friend. Yet in his sorrow, Xiao Zhan also carries a fire. Friends close to him say he has vowed to honor Menglong by refusing to let his memory fade into silence. He is determined to remind the world of the gentle, kind-hearted man who once walked among them, and to ask the questions that too many are afraid to speak aloud. Fans across the globe, already suspicious of the strange circumstances surrounding Menglong's death, have now rallied behind Xiao Zhan. Social media is flooded with hashtags demanding justice, with countless posts reminding the world that Menglong was more than just another celebrity lost too soon. He was a son, a friend, a dreamer, and perhaps a whistleblower who knew too much. The industry's silence has only fueled speculation. Every time officials release statements urging fans to move on or respect privacy, it only strengthens the belief that something is being covered up. Could it be that Xiao Zhan's tears are the final crack in the wall of silence? Those who dare to speak about Menglong's death do so in hushed tones. The fear is palpable. Careers can be destroyed with a single phone call, contracts cancelled overnight, reputations smeared in the blink of an eye. The message is clear: stay quiet or risk everything. Xiao Zhan, however, finds himself at a crossroads. His fame gives him a platform that few others possess, but it also places him in the spotlight, where every word he utters will be scrutinized. If he chooses to speak openly about what he knows, he risks becoming the next target. But if he stays silent, he betrays the friend whose death continues to haunt him. As the world mourns you, Menglong, the questions grow louder. What exactly did Menglong see? Who was so desperate to silence him? Why does the industry remain unwilling to confront the truth? And will Xiao Zhan risk everything to ensure that his friend's voice is finally heard? Until those questions are answered, Xiao Zhan's tears will remain a symbol of both grief and resistance, a reminder that behind every glittering performance, there may be untold stories of pain, silence, and sacrifice. The entertainment industry has weathered countless storms before, but Menglong's death may mark a turning point. If more voices join Xiao Zhan in demanding answers, the silence may finally break. And if the truth emerges, it could reshape the way the world views fame, power, and the price of keeping secrets. For now, Xiao Zhan carries the weight of grief on his shoulders, his tears telling the story of a friendship broken by forces too cruel to name. But perhaps in those tears lies the spark of something greater, a call for justice that can no longer be ignored. Because in the end, Yu Menglong deserves more than silence. He deserves the truth. Xiao Zhan's sleepless nights became longer after discovering the truth behind Yu Menglong's death. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Menglong's face, gentle, smiling, yet shadowed by a weight he never fully shared. The haunting thought that his friend carried the burden of secrets so dangerous that it cost him his life tore Xiao Zhan apart. In the quiet of his room, with the curtains drawn and the world outside unaware of his anguish, he often sat on the floor, clutching Menglong's final messages, his tears falling onto the phone screen. It wasn't just grief anymore, it was rage mixed with helplessness. The whispers he had gathered weren't just rumors, they were fragments of a puzzle that painted a picture darker than anyone could have imagined. Menglong hadn't simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time. He had witnessed the unthinkable, things that powerful figures in the industry would rather bury than ever let surface. Xiao Zhan replayed every conversation they ever had, realizing how Menglong's words had been veiled warnings. Sometimes truth is too heavy, Menglong had once said, staring off into the distance after an event. Back then, Xiao Zhan thought it was just another moment of quiet reflection. Now he knew better. There were nights Xiao Zhan would walk the streets aimlessly, his face hidden beneath a cap, avoiding the curious eyes of fans and paparazzi. One evening, he found himself standing before the building where Menglong had spent his last days. The windows were dark, the atmosphere heavy with an unspeakable silence. He leaned against the cold walls, his hands trembling as he whispered, "Why didn't you let me carry it with you?" The city lights flickered around him, but his heart felt as though it was drowning in shadows. The more he searched for answers, the more resistance he met. Friends who had once spoken freely about Menglong's last days suddenly turned cold, avoiding his calls, refusing to meet. Others warned him discreetly to stop digging before it was too late. "They are watching," one whispered before hanging up. Xiao Zhan's chest tightened. If Menglong had been silenced, how far would they go to protect their secrets? Was he next in line if he dared to continue? But Xiao Zhan wasn't alone in his pain. Fans across the world, united in grief, began piecing their own theories together. Social media became a battlefield. Images of Menglong flooded timelines, tributes laced with sorrow and suspicion filled comment sections, and hashtags demanding truth climbed into global trends. Some fans posted clips of Menglong's past interviews, pointing out his unusual pauses, the flicker of fear in his eyes, the way his smile seemed strained in his final months. Others accused the industry of weaving lies to protect their own while sacrificing those too honest to play their game. Xiao Zhan read these posts in silence, his heart breaking all over again. Each fan's voice echoed his own feelings, pain, confusion, and a relentless hunger for justice. but at the same time he feared for them. The louder they shouted, the greater the risk that the unseen hands pulling the strings would try to silence them too. It was a cruel reality. The very people who loved Menglong most might suffer for daring to defend him. One scene that would forever be etched into Xiao Zhan's memory happened when he visited Menglong's mother. She opened the door with trembling hands, her eyes swollen from endless nights of crying. The moment she saw Xiao Zhan, she broke down, collapsing into his arms. "He told me he was scared," she sobbed, her voice cracked with grief. "But he didn't tell me why. He just said, if anything happens, don't believe what they say." Her words shattered Xiao Zhan completely. He held her tightly, both of them drowning in tears, realizing that even in his last days, Menglong had tried to shield those he loved most. The more Xiao Zhan uncovered, the heavier his heart grew. There were documents Menglong had kept hidden, names scribbled in journals, and recordings he never had the chance to share. Each piece of evidence hinted at something colossal, an underground web of power, money, and silence that stretched beyond anything Xiao Zhan had imagined. But with every discovery came a new fear. If he revealed these truths, would it destroy not only him but also everyone connected to him? And yet, Xiao Zhan knew he couldn't stay silent forever. His tears, his sleepless nights, his restless walks through the city, they weren't just expressions of grief. They were the fuel of something greater, a growing determination to break the chains of silence. He began drafting words he wanted to one day speak publicly, lines that burned in his chest. "You Menglong didn't die in vain. He saw the truth, and I will not let the world forget him." But courage in this industry came at a price. Whispers followed him everywhere, his phone buzzed with anonymous threats, and even some of his closest allies urged him to stop. They feared what would happen if the truth was exposed. Xiao Zhan's tears often returned during these moments, not just for Menglong but for the heavy loneliness of standing at the edge of something so dangerous. The fans, however, continued to push. Candlelight vigils were held in cities across the world. Murals of Menglong appeared on walls, painted by strangers who wanted his memory to live on. Songs were written, poems recited, and every act of remembrance became another strike against the silence. For Xiao Zhan, these displays of love gave him strength. He realized that Menglong's story had grown beyond a personal tragedy, it had become a movement. In the quiet moments of dawn, as Xiao Zhan sat by his window staring at the rising sun, he finally understood something. The industry may be powerful, but it could never erase the bond between truth and memory. Menglong's death was not the end, it was the beginning of a storm that could no longer be contained. The tears Xiao Zhan shed were not only for grief but for awakening. He promised himself that one day, no matter the cost, he would stand before the world and speak what Menglong could not. Because love for a friend and love for truth was stronger than fear. And perhaps when that day comes, the industry that tried so hard to bury the truth will finally tremble under the weight of voices it can no longer silence. Menglong's name, carried by Xiao Zhan's tears and the cries of millions of fans, will live on. Not as a forgotten tragedy, but as a symbol of courage, justice, and the fight for a truth too long denied.